what are the sort of four central ideas that animate contemporary critical theory, which encompasses a big umbrella category that encompasses fields like critical race theory and queer theory and intersectional feminism? What are those four ideas? Well, social binary, number one, the social binary. Number two, oppression through ideology, or what they call hegemonic power. Number three, lived experience. And number four, social justice. Look at those each in turn. The social binary is the idea that society is divided into oppressor groups and oppressed groups along lines of race, class, gender, sexuality, physical ability, religion, nationality, and a host of other factors. So this is a book called Is Everyone Really Equal, written by Robin DiAngelo, the famous author of White Fragility, and her co-author Özlem Sensoy. And here's a really helpful table in their book, table figure 5.1, and it lists various dominant or agent or oppressor groups. That's whites, the owning class, cisgendered men, heterosexuals, Christians, able-bodied citizens, white settlers. Then it lists various oppressed groups or minoritized or target groups, people of color, poor, working class, middle class, women, transgender people, gays and lesbians, bisexuals, non-Christians, people with disabilities, immigrants, and indigenous people. And these are all these oppressor and oppressed groups are differentiated in how they are separated by oppressions like racism, classism, sexism, heterosexism, anti-Semitism, religious oppression, ableism, and so forth and so on. It's a very clear picture of how they view the social reality, that all reality is separated into oppressor groups and oppressed groups along lines of race, class, and gender. Number two, critical theorists have redefined the word oppression. Here's a great essay by Iris Young where she talks about it. She writes that traditionally, yes, oppression referred to tyranny and unjust treatment or control. That's how it's defined in the dictionary. But she says, in its new usage, oppression designates the disadvantage and injustice some people suffer not because a tyrannical power coerces them, but instead because of the everyday practices of a well-intentioned liberal society. Oppression is embedded in unquestioned norms, habits, and symbols. So this gets back to what they call hegemonic power. Hegemonic power refers to quote DiAngelo and Sensoy again, hegemonic power refers to the dominant group, the ruling class's ability to impose their values and norms and ideas on culture in a way that appears to everybody as natural and objective and common sense and even God ordained. So we don't even notice. Well, if that's true, if the ruling class imposes their values on culture in a way that we're blind to, how can we escape that if we're all blinded by these oppressive narratives? The answer is number three, through lived experience. Here's a great quote from Anderson and Collins' book, Race, Class, and Gender. They write, "The idea that objectivity is best reached only through rational thought is a specifically Western and masculine idea, one that we will challenge throughout this book." So here's a picture to understand their way of thinking. People that are privileged, if you're white or male or wealthy or able-bodied or cisgender, you're blind to social reality. You have both conscious and subconscious reasons to ignore the reality of oppression, so you can't see it, it's invisible to you. But if you're part of an oppressed group, you're actually also naturally blind because you're socialized into these hegemonic narratives like white supremacy, the patriarchy, cisgenderism, and Christian hegemony, etc. However, if you're from an oppressed group, then through your lived experience of racism, classism, sexism, cisgenderism, homophobia, through that lived experience, you can achieve what's called a critical or a liberatory consciousness. Colloquially, you can get woke. You can wake up to reality, and now you have the blindfolds taken off. You can see, and of course, because of that, if we belong to an oppressor group, we should defer to your authority as an oppressed person. And then finally, the end goal of critical theory in all its iterations is liberation, the liberation of oppressed groups, or social justice, which in this essay, Mary McClintock defines as the elimination of all forms of social oppression, whether it's based on a person's gender, race, ethnicity, religion, orientation, mental ability, physical ability, or economic class.
If you're joining us for the first time, we at Ratio Christi have been very excited about these free webinars, one of our newest initiatives. So these 1-hour sessions have a couple of goals. First, we want to give you a sneak peek at the kinds of things we talk about on a regular basis. Things that can equip you with historical, scientific, and philosophical reasons for believing that Christianity is true, and reasons that you can share with skeptical friends. If you're brand new to us, our name, Ratio Christi, is a Latin phrase that means the reason of Christ. Our goal is empowering Christian students in their walk with Jesus and inviting non-Christian students to examine the evidence for Jesus in a rational way. Second, what we want to do with these webinars is introduce more people to those of us on staff that are doing the boots on the ground work in this ministry, potentially near you. Perhaps it's the case that you've heard of us through the grapevine but don't know anyone in the ministry, or maybe you don't know what we do. If you're interested, when we're done here, we encourage you to go to our website, ratiochristi.org, and select the chapters tab and see if we're near you. If not, perhaps you could start a chapter. So most months, what you'll hear in these webinars are you'll hear from Ratio Christi staff located all across the country, and you'll get to hear some of what they do in their ministry. These webinars are all free and open to the public, so please remember to share these links when they go out and invite your friends.